Good evening and welcome back to Golden Eagle Sports Report.
Tonight we discuss the women's basketball team's tournament chances, the men's and women's lacrosse team season openers, and the NBA trade deadline.
So get ready, Marquette Nation, because Golden Eagle Sports Report starts right now.
Slam dunk! Oh, that's a poster.
Live from the Jeannie Hayes Virtual Studio at Marquette University, this is Golden Eagle Sports Report.
Marquette gets the rebound, and the champions have gone down.
Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew Muzu.
And I'm Aiden Hatton.
The men's basketball team is back to being unranked despite receiving 77 votes in the latest AP 25 poll.
Marquette went winless last week, losing to both UConn and Butler on the road.
The team's next match comes against the Georgetown Hoyas tomorrow night.
New Zealand native Ben Gold announces his commitment to Marquette's 2022 recruiting class.
The announcement came via Twitter. Gold is a 6'10" forward from the NBA Global Academy in Australia.
Joining Olivier Maxence Prosper, Gold is the second Marquette player to come from the NBA's International Developmental Academies.
Oh yeah, we got some NBA talent for sure, Aiden. But the women's basketball team looks to earn a statement win against UConn.
Were they able to seal the deal against one of the top teams in the nation? Tyler Peters gives us the answer.
It might have been Super Bowl Sunday, but inside the Al McGuire Center, there's a different marquee matchup going on. The Marquette women's basketball team welcomes in the number 8 UConn Huskies, playing in front of a sold-out crowd. Both teams' offenses are clicking right off the bat, with the Golden Eagles ending the first frame with a slight 21-20 advantage. It's more of the same in the second quarter as neither squad is able to break away from the gridlock. The Huskies hit a last-second shot right before halftime, tying the game at 31 apiece heading into the locker room. Things remain tight in the third quarter, but that all changes in the fourth. UConn strings together a clutch 12-0 run down the stretch, jumping out to a double-digit lead after being down by 2 points to begin the fourth quarter. The Huskies go on to win the match 72-58 and hand Marquette its second straight loss.
I'm just really proud of the way we're continuing to, we're not seeing the fruit of maybe the labor right now, but we have a really good basketball team.
First-year guard Azzy Fudd put down several shots during crunch time and ultimately led UConn with 24 points.
I think the one thing that maybe surprised them was how much Azzy went to the basket. Because, people think of her as a great three-point shooter, which she is, but she really got a lot done getting to the basket.
Meanwhile, Liza Carlin collects a team high of 15 points for the Golden Eagles.
That's the biggest thing, the journey with her right now of being able to have double-doubles in games like this and when they're really important will only pay dividends for her down the stretch.
Marquette's next match comes against the DePaul Blue Demons on Wednesday. Reporting from the Al McGuire Center, I'm Tyler Peters, Marquette Wire Sports.
And with that, we now welcome in assistant sports producer Kristen Parisi, who was on the call for Marquette Radio broadcast last Sunday. Kristen, it was a great broadcast. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm happy to be back, this time in the analysis chair.
Yes. This is a little weird, but we're just going to go with it. So let's talk about the UConn game. Marquette was up by 2 heading into the fourth quarter, but what happened at the end?
Oh, it was just not a good fourth quarter for the Golden Eagles. They only took 6 total shots and were outscored 27-11 in the fourth quarter. Easy Flood had a total of 24 points, and they just, after Coach Megan Duffy called a timeout early in the fourth quarter, UConn just started going on all sorts of runs. They switched to a zone defense, which was startling the offensive end for the Golden Eagles. They just couldn't get any shots up. Avina Westbrook just decided to take over in the fourth quarter. She took over, and at the end, Paige Bueckers was like, it's over. So it was just not the ending that Megan Duffy wanted. And that happened for the second straight time because at Villanova, they were winning, and then they just went scoreless at the end of the quarter. So this has been an existing problem for the Golden Eagles as of late.
But there was someone that was not a problem, and that was Liza Carlin. She continued to put up some solid numbers. So how have you seen her game evolve this season?
I think she's really taken a really big step from her first year. I mean, she was most of a role player most of her first year here, but now with Cameron Taylor leaving and going to Virginia, she was able to really step up and embrace the starting role. She had 15 points against UConn. She had 20 points in the last second win against Creighton. So she's really been stepping up as of late. And she told us after the UConn game that she's become less passive and starts taking the shots instead of giving them to her teammates. And Lauren Van Clunen and Chloe Murata have really stepped up and really helped her develop herself on the floor. But also Coach Megan Duffy's really happy with how she's evolved, and she's already gotten a couple of Big East honor roll accolades this season, and that's just the start for her career here.
That's just a start. They're going to need that help because Marquette plays their next 4 games on the road. So how do you see this team performing during this tough stretch?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. First, they have DePaul, who they beat in overtime when they went to when they were here, but now they're going to Chicago. Anissa Morrow is one of the best first years in the Big East. She's probably going to be All-Consensus first Big East freshman of the year. And she had a double-double the last time these two teams played. So they're really going to have to lock down on her. But then they also have UConn again because their December game was canceled due to COVID in Marquette's program. So they're going to have a quick one, and that's going to be in stores. So it's going to be at UConn's house. So it's not going to be it's not going to be easy. They have 2 of the best teams in the Big East, and they're going to need some big upsets and some good play if they want to look towards the postseason.
And everybody looks toward the postseason. But, right now the Golden Eagles are currently one of the last 4 out in ESPN's Charlie Cream's latest NCAA tournament bracketology. So do you think that this team can be part of the madness?
As of now, no. They've been on the bubble the entire year. After going to the dance last year, they've been on the bubble the entire year, and even before the Villanova and UConn game, they were the last 4 in. But after losing those 2, I don't think Charlie Cream sees them coming in, and I don't really see them right now because they just can't finish their games. If they can beat DePaul and UConn at their respective arenas, I think it could be a question that they could get in. But unless they have a dramatic ending and do something big in the Big East championship run, I mean, they've been to the title game for so many years, but they haven't won it since 2017. So if they win it, they're automatic qualifier. But if they pull up some big upset, I think we might be able to see them in the big dance, but I hope we can see them there.
They were not the cream of the crop in Charlie Cream's bracketology.
No, gosh.
Was that bad? Okay.
No, it's okay.
We'll forget about that. Anyway, Kristen, thank you so much for the insights as always. Lacrosse season is officially underway. We'll discuss that next.
Bring it.
Time out, guys. I'm late to dinner. My mom's gonna kill me. Catch you guys later.
Mom wants us home. Okay. Bye, guys. You guys need a ride?
Sure. Yeah. All right. How about some one-on-one?
I gotta go eat, man. Sorry, I'll see you later.
Stem is precise, no margin for error.
Dare to forget that. Dare to have fun with it. Get weird with it. Dare to load their minds. Dare to explore. Dare to STEM. Learn more at She Can STEM.
Welcome back to Golden Eagle Sports Report. Once again, I'm Andrew Muzu.
And I'm Aiden Hatton.
The Marquette women's lacrosse team kicks off the week by traveling to Illinois to take on number 5 ranked Northwestern.
Although junior attacker Mary Schumar had a career night tallying 6 total points, the Golden Eagles fell to the Wildcats 24-13.
Junior attacker Hannah Grieving also added a hat trick for the Golden Eagles in the loss. The Marquette men's lacrosse team kicks off its 2022 campaign.
The Golden Eagles went on the road Saturday to Louisville, Kentucky to take on the Bellarmine Knights.
The game stays close throughout regulation, but the Knights score the lone goal in the fourth quarter to tie it at 8 and force overtime.
The Golden Eagles go on to win the game in dramatic fashion with first-year attacker Bobby O'Grady scoring the game-winning goal in triple overtime.
Triple overtime, my gosh. O'Grady finishes the day with 4 goals, and redshirt first-year goalkeeper Michael O'Leary notches 12 saves in the cage.
The Golden Eagles are back in action on Saturday when they travel to Florida to take on the Jacksonville Dolphins.
On the other hand, the Marquette women's lacrosse team were able to start the season off strong by picking up their first win of the season. Kylie Getz has more.
Dancing, cheering, and big smiles all around as the Marquette Golden Eagles return to the Valley to take on the Cincinnati Bearcats for their season opener. After returning from a season impacted by COVID last year, both the team and the fans are ready to start the new season. Right from the whistle, both Marquette and Cincinnati battle back and forth to keep the game in close quarters all throughout the first half. Going into halftime, Marquette leads Cincinnati with a score of 9-6. With the fast start and great defense, the Golden Eagles hold the Bearcats with only 2 points in the third quarter. Just with 3 minutes left on the clock, Cincinnati digs deep to put an extra 3 points on the board, but as time expires, they could not catch up to the Golden Eagles.
I think our team fought hard and we had a lot of ups and downs, which is typical in a first game, but I'm proud of our team for being able to just overcome. The goal is to maximize everyone's strengths, and that's what I feel like we did today.
The Marquette Golden Eagles defeat Cincinnati Bearcats 16-13, marking their first ever season opener win in program history.
Play my best when I focus on my teammates and just going all out and hustling, so I think that was the best part of today. I wasn't even focused on my own game, just thinking about the team win and how much fun we were having on the field together.
The Golden Eagles will return back in the Valley on March 12th versus Kent State. Reporting from the Dome at Valley Fields, I'm Kylie Getz, Marquette Wire Sports.
Joining us now is women's lacrosse beat reporter Jackson Gross. Jackson, thanks for coming on the show.
It's always good to be on with you, Aiden.
Of course, and we just heard in Kylie's package that the team won their first home opener in program history. What are your takeaways from the match on Saturday?
It was a pretty good match overall. A little cold in the Dome. Had to type with some gloves on doing the recap, but it was a good game. Their offense had some really nice stretches. They had a couple of spots where they were able to score 3 goals in a row. Defense, for the most part, looked pretty good throughout, especially in that third quarter. Only gave up 2 goals. Amanda Rumsey looked really solid, but when I talked to Coach Black after the game, the main thing she said is that the team is fading. Even in drills and practices, the team fades quite a bit, and that's what happened against Cincinnati. They were up 16-10 without 2:30 to go, but they gave up 3 goals in 40 seconds. So that's something they're going to have to work on going forward.
Well, you mentioned the goaltender situation with Amanda Rumsey, among others. They lost both starters in that position last year. What are your thoughts on that goaltender situation this season?
It's a tough situation because not only do you lose Juliana Horning, you lost Sophia Leva, and then Delaney Friel, she was medically disqualified, and then Bella Durbin quit the team. So you got 2 new goalies. You got Amanda Rumsey, like I said, looked really solid against Cincinnati. She had 14 saves on 27 shots. It looked good, but in all honesty, she got shell-shocked against Northwestern. She gave up 20 goals on 25 shots. Northwestern's really good. They're the number 5 team in the country, but she'll have to bounce back to that. And Brenda Nixon, she did a pretty solid job stepping in the last 15 minutes, but it's a real tough situation in that goaltending spot.
The future, Marquette has a tough stretch ahead as their next 5 games are on the road, Jackson. How do you see the team responding to this early challenge here in the beginning of the season?
Well, they're still going to have some really tough games left on the schedule. They got Ohio State coming up, another good Big Ten squad, but then there's some opportunities later down the stretch to get some wins against Detroit Mercy and some other schools. So they can go 3-2, 2-3 in this last little stretch here to finish out the road trip before they come back home to the Valley to play Kent State. They're in a really good spot going forward.
Well, we certainly hope so, and we appreciate your insights, Jackson. Coming up, we're talking NBA trades, NFL awards, and more. Don't go anywhere because GSR will be right back.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again. But an awkward silence can be a great thing, like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
After you joined our family, it was like, I really do feel complete now.
Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
I'm Jenny Garth, and as a mother of 3, I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. But here in America, that is a real worry for 1 in 5 children. This is unacceptable, and something Feeding America is working to solve. Through a nationwide network of food banks, Feeding America serves virtually every community in the United States, including yours. See how you can help your community. Visit feedingamerica.org. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America.
Roll over. When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. And your mother. They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
Every day,
Millions of people are connecting. Father,
cosplayer,
mentor,
actor. It's time we take a step forward, come together,
and discover
how accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
And we're back in Studio 7 as we will discuss the finalization of the NBA trade deadline and the NFL awards. Joining me on the panel tonight is Aiden Haddon, Johnny Brooker, and the staple, Matt Yazel. Guys, let's just get it started. The NBA trade deadline has officially passed. One of the biggest headlines was the trade between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets involving Ben Simmons and James Harden. Thoughts on the blockbuster deal, Matt?
Well, Andrew, I can tell you I am not buying into this for Philly and James Harden. I'm just not. Because I have a lot of concerns about James Harden's track record. You know, we've seen a lot about how he's kind of forced his way out of the last 2 situations he's been in. He's played with some great players. He was with Chris Paul in Houston.
Yes.
That's probably the closest he's been to a championship was with Houston and Chris Paul. He was just with Brooklyn. Only got to play, 15 games with KD and Kyrie. But I guess I'm just not a big fan of Harden's game when it comes to thinking about winning a championship. I mean, if you're talking about, playing iso ball and, who's going to win in a one-on-one, it's hard to go against James Harden. I mean, he can cook any defender in the league, drop 35 points a night, and that's great. But when you're talking about winning a championship, he's not who I want on my team, personally. I'm not seeing it. I feel like we've seen enough of him in good situations where he could have won something, and then suddenly he's shooting 2 for 15 from 3 in a playoff game, turning double-digit turnovers. It's just I have a lot of concerns about this from that perspective. But he could prove me wrong. He's a great player. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying from winning a champ, that's what Philly's trying to do now, is trying to win a championship this year. I don't think that's going to happen.
Some people just need a fresh start. So maybe this could be it.
But he's had a few fresh starts, though.
Yeah, he's had a few fresh starts. Some really good ones, too. But, Aiden, what do you think?
I couldn't agree more with what you said, Matt, about Harden. And to compare Simmons to him as well, I think they're both mentally damaged goods at the end of the day. This trade is a swap of both guys who really in their past situations have, we've seen it, with Ben Simmons, obviously in Philadelphia at the end of the postseason last year. And that's why I think this trade ultimately doesn't involve any championship-defining storyline. I think you're going to see, obviously, a big swap between Harden going to Philly and Simmons going to Brooklyn. And you just talked about Harden's perspective now playing with Embiid. Let's talk about what Brooklyn has with Ben Simmons now. As much as I don't like how he's played out this scenario at the end of last season, obviously going into this season with Doc Rivers, I think he's actually in a great spot with Brooklyn where he doesn't have to be a scorer. I think you'll see him, hopefully if he comes back from a physical and mental injury at some point, he can be effective for this Brooklyn team as they make a playoff push.
But what about this is not championship defining, though? If Ben Simmons plays well, Kevin Durant, and you have 50% of Kyrie Irving, but you have Seth Curry as well, Andre Drummond, what about that's not championship? I still think that they're the favorites to come out the East.
Yeah, Brooklyn is definitely the winner of the trade to me, Andrew, and I think that's a pretty definitive answer for me because of those, alternative pieces you get with Seth Curry, not Steph. And Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks as well. Yeah. I just think Brooklyn's in too much of a hole right now, and I think that mental imagery of what they went through last year, losing to the hometown Milwaukee Bucks here in town the way they did, I just don't see them climbing all the way back from an 11-game losing streak, which we just saw.
Andrew, you said 50% of Kyrie Irving. That's all you need to say when
you're
talking about championship contenders. I mean, you're telling, look, KD, great player. You're telling me they're going to carry this team all the way to a championship without Kyrie?
I think so.
A 7-game series, Kyrie's playing 3, depending on the other team's city.
Right.
Like, I mean, hey, if the Bucks in Brooklyn play in the playoffs, let's talk to the city of Milwaukee about a vaccine mandate. I mean, I'm just saying, like, you can't depend on them right now, and you can't depend on Ben Simmons either. But I think in theory, it is a good situation for Simmons.
But you can count on the greatest scorer in NBA history in Kevin Durant. You can't tell me he's not going to lead that team.
Preach.
Remember last season against the Milwaukee Bucks, if his foot was an inch smaller,
what about it?
They would have won.
If his shoe size was,
that's it.
Woo.
Speaking of shoe, look at Aiden's. Look at his.
Oh my gosh, those kicks are
awesome. The camera can look.
I wish we could get some camera on those shoes. Look at that. But anyway, so we're talking about the East. We're staying in the East. Who do you think is the best team in the East? Does the conference still run through the Milwaukee Bucks? We'll start with you, Johnny.
I think it does run through them right now, but at the same time, the East is so close right now. Like the Brooklyn Nets, they are the 8th seed, but there's only 7 games splitting them from first place to that 8th seed. So I do think it does run through Milwaukee, but you can't count out Brooklyn. They are 1-9 in their last 10, but the real season is starting until the playoffs begins. Yeah. So you're going to tell me you're going to beat Kevin Durant 4 times.
It's tough.
Yeah. So I
but
do
they did it last year.
They did.
They did. But to who? To the champions, Milwaukee. So
yeah.
If there's a team that's going to beat them, it'll be Milwaukee and not Chicago.
Aiden, I hope you're not going to say what team I think you're going to say, but let's continue.
I will not say my hometown Boston Celtics.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's the other green team. Obviously, it stays through Milwaukee. I still do think that because the Milwaukee Bucks are 23-6 when Giannis Antetokounmpo, Chris Middleton, Andrew Holiday all play together. And I think
cute.
Obviously, they're 12-16 when one of them does not play. But when you talk about health in terms of what Brooklyn's going through right now and what we've seen throughout the last NBA season and even this year, still going through the pandemic, obviously, I think that's going to play a huge role. And when Milwaukee is healthy, I think the Eastern Conference still goes through them.
Yeah, just because Matt is on the panel does not mean that you have to make him happy.
I love it. I love it. And look, injuries obviously is a concern for every team. We're not saying the Bucks are the only team that have had injury issues, but I'm liking how this team's shaping out right now around the big three when they are healthy. We saw a few trades bringing in Sergio. They haven't had Brook Lopez all year, an anchor down low. Yep. They've had a lot of small lineups with Bobby Portis playing center, and that's fine every now and then, but you really need a big center to control the paint defensively and to be able to shoot a little bit. They brought in Serge Ibaka. They still have a couple buyout spots. Maybe bring in Goran Dragic. I'm really liking how this Bucks team comes together when they're all healthy. When those three are healthy, for the most part, they look like an elite team. They look like the team we saw in the playoffs last year. But in general, I just think the Bucks they may not be the 1 seed right now. They're
not.
I believe they're the 5 seed.
They're not even the 2 seed or 3.
It don't matter.
What was that record you said? That what are they?
23-6.
23-6. When the Chicago Bulls are healthy, do you know what they are? They're undefeated. They're undefeated. Okay.
Well, that's the asterisk.
When
healthy.
I won't even talk.
Injuries the most.
You guys already know what my stance is on the Chicago Bulls. I think that they're a huge threat, but we haven't even talked about South Beach, Miami. We haven't talked about them.
That's
They
right.
are a very big threat
They sit number
to
1.
the Milwaukee Bucks because they are one of the teams that will run a zone. And when you run a zone, I think that could, Milwaukee might have some shooters. I don't know how they'll do in the playoffs, but when there's a zone with Giannis, they can shut that down. Their defense is great. Marquette alum Jimmy Butler, he's going to be running the show there. I think they're very impressive, but Chicago's undefeated. And the Brooklyn Nets, we just talked about the Brooklyn Nets. So I don't know. And
Brooklyn is a big what if, though. I just think they're the biggest what if.
What if for what, though? What if for what?
If Kyrie can even play, if Ben Simmons is available. Just availability is the biggest question for Brooklyn right now.
If he's going to play.
And, how many games are those 3 going to have together to, get a connection going before the playoffs start?
But don't you think Brooklyn would know if Ben Simmons was not going to play or not? That had to be in the conversations when their general manager was on the phone. Will Ben Simmons play this season?
I'm sure Philly thought he was going to come back and play, and then
Philly does not want him to play. That's a death sentence for Ben Simmons. I don't think Philly wants to see him play. Ben Simmons doesn't even want to shoot the ball. So
yeah.
I think you got a point, but we'll skip over that. But anyway, the Green Bay Packers were staying in Wisconsin. Their quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, wins his 4th MVP honors at the NFL Awards ceremony this past week. TJ Watt of the Pittsburgh Steelers and Cooper Kupp of the Los Angeles Rams are also award winners. What are everyone's thoughts on this year's award winners? Agree, disagree? Johnny Brooker, we'll start with you.
So for MVP, Aaron Rodgers, that's a given. Defensive Player of the Year, TJ Watt. I mean, he tied the sack record with the man, Michael Strahan, who played for this great franchise right here. So that's a given. But for Offensive Player of the Year, Cooper Kupp, I think he's rightfully so because he led the league in 3 categories. But he better thank God for his coach and his general manager for bringing in Matthew Stafford, because you need to be a great wide receiver. I think you need a great quarterback as well. But also because they brought in this man.
Why would they need to thank Odell?
You're going against one of the greatest wide receivers in practice every single day. That's a motivation right there to succeed.
But even before he came, he was still running the show.
Yes, but then think about it. You got Matt right here. You got Aiden. That's making you want to do better right here.
Yeah. Especially, Aiden's making me want to dress better. Matt's making me want to just roast Milwaukee all the time.
They say the saying says iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron.
Robert Woods is not Odell Beckham. Van Jefferson is not Odell.
Well,
all right.
You just brought in a Giants jersey.
and
we don't even have Kristen, and somehow New York always pops in. Aiden, tell us more.
New York always makes an impact on
every time.
In some way, shape, or form. I'm also in agreement on those 3. I think Rodgers only had 4 interceptions this season. That has to be the kicker for the MVP. In terms of TJ Watt, you just mentioned Strahan's record. He actually played a game less, even with a 17-game season, because he missed 2 games with injuries. So that's equally as impressive, if not more. And then finally, with Cooper Kupp, a guy, he deserved that Offensive Player of the Year award. A guy who I wanted to see, obviously coming from the University of Wisconsin, was Jonathan Taylor of the Colts, but his team faltered the last few weeks of the year. Obviously, rooting for a running back to win that award would have been cool, but congratulations to Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, Taylor was in MVP conversations earlier on in the season, but Cooper Kupp arguably just had the best wide receiver season ever. I mean, these awards, don't factor in the postseason, so I guess, his Super Bowl MVP award doesn't necessarily factor into that. But still, winning the Triple Crown, even with the extra game, easily the fantasy MVP, if not the regular MVP. Yeah. But TJ Watt, last year, I think should have won Defensive Player of the Year, came back, had an incredible season.
All right. Well, thank you so much for this great discussion. I kind of disagree, but we will say that for another time. Anyway, thank you so much for the great discussion. We're out of time, but be sure to tune in next week for all our coverage of Marquette sports and more. Once again, I'm Andrew Amuzu. Good night, Marquette.